We're raising, as we say, the next generation of generosity. We call it our triple impact. So power of volunteering, or our programs, is that the kids get the beautiful benefits of, or the wonderful benefits of volunteering. The recipients also get the benefit, not just of whether it's the food, the breakfast packs, the care packs, the pamper packs, but also the community as a whole.
The Giving Habit, brought to you in partnership with the Majority Trust. Learn more about how they do philanthropy differently at majority.sg. Welcome to The Giving Habit, the podcast that uncovers the grit, hope and creativity of social impact. I'm delighted to be joined here in the Sydney studio by Carole Schlessinger, co-founder of Kids Giving Back. It's a wonderful charity based here in New South Wales that's really about building the next generation of generosity. Really, Carole, welcome to The Giving Habit.
Thank you so much for having me.
Very good. We're going to start with the human spark, if we can. I see that you've spent your life building programs around helping kids connect with that spirit of generosity. And what was the starting point? What was the spark for you that first moved you into this particular space?
Well, I guess I was a mother, and Ruth, who's the co-founder, Ruthie, as I call her, she also, our kids were at the same age. They were 5 at the time, and we really wanted to teach our kids something that for them to give back, and really that humane sort of aspect in a world in such a digital world. I have to say, as a mum, I was worried, and this was 15 years ago, and we just innately thought of volunteering as a good sort of solution to the crazy world that we're living in. And we both had volunteered as kids. I've seen my parents volunteer, and that was really what sort of started it in terms of, it was just part of my parents. Once a week my mother would go to this op shop, which would raise money, which would go to a charity, and that was part of it. And I saw that, and I guess because that was in my childhood, I wanted that for my kids. And we really felt that was something that would help our kids in this crazy world that we're living in.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So your parents kind of demonstrating, kind of modelling those certain behaviours, and that rubbed off on you. Not only did you benefit as a child, but you carried it forward into adulthood. Now you're paying it forward.
Yeah.
So did it kind of come out fully formed, the idea of kids giving back?
Not
or was
all.
It evolutionary? I'm guessing it was an evolutionary process.
It was really, we looked for places for our own kids to volunteer, and we just couldn't find it.
There's not many.
It was really difficult, and so I guess as necessity is the mother of invention, as the saying goes. We found a community kitchen, our big kitchen in Bondi, and started to volunteer a bit there. But we also realised that when it comes to young kids, it has to be curated in a way, because it has to be age appropriate. So we really just started with family and friends in the kitchen, cooking meals. We would call up charities to see where those meals could go to. And part of it was in the delivery of the meals, because it's one thing to cook them, which is all very valuable and wonderful, but when the kids see where it's going to, where they see that, I guess that part of that aha moment is when they hand over something that they've done, that they've created, and they see the gratitude in the other person. That's an aha moment that really sort of stands.
It's such a valuable part of the Kids Giving Back process. Was that very conscious right from the beginning, or was that just, so it was totally, you wanted to make sure that connection was there?
Yeah, it actually happened. What really sort of sparked it in a way was one day I dragged my kids. They were probably 5, 7 and 9 at the time. It was pouring rain, and we went to Prince of Wales Hospital to deliver cookies to some patients. And we went in, and there was this little old lady in a room by herself, and I literally dragged the kids in there, and this woman she started crying. She had tears in her eyes, and she said, "Can I hold their hands?" And she held my son's hand for a few minutes, and she said, and just her gratitude, her thanks, and the kids could not just see it, they could feel it. And they came out, and they just said, "Mum, that was so cool." And I can't begin to tell you what they were like before we went into that room, but that was a moment that I don't think they will ever forget. And I could see that impact immediately. And that was just, we realised very, very early on, Ruth and I, that we really wanted to give that sort of impact. So it's not just creating, but showing the kids what they're doing and how it benefits others.
Totally get it. And just for what it's worth, so that little boy that you would have met, Edward, that I brought along to that program many years ago, he's a strapping 20-year-old lad now. He's taller than me. But that's what he remembers. That's what he talks about when we talk about kids giving back. It's the experience of, and maybe it's worth explaining that a little bit. So your program today is still very much based on bringing folks together. You'll cook food. You'll package that up, so both kids and parents are encouraged to do that kind of together. There's an education and enablement process that goes around that.
Yeah.
But then it's you're handing over addresses, right, of homeless shelters or refuges or even individual homes, and the children are encouraged to actually deliver that by hand. It is that connection, isn't it? It's the knocking on the door, and it's the 3-5 minute conversation that happens that really brings it to life.
Yeah, the kids really feel that they've made a difference, and that is what is so needed nowadays. That kids can, for the kids to feel that they can help, and they can help, and it's not just the kids, it's adults also need to see that kids can do meaningful things. I think in a bit in this day and age, it's like kids do their thing, we do our thing, whereas when kids feel that difference, when everyone wants to be needed, everybody wants purpose, and when they feel that makes them feel good. And you've got there's so much research out there on the we call it our brain shower, of the dopamine and oxytocin and all of that makes them feel good. It's clinically proven that volunteering is good for you, and so for kids it's just so important nowadays for them to get that good brain shower as opposed to a lot of the negative stuff that's out there.
I think you're right. And you talked about your concerns as a mum for your kids around kind of digital kind of technology and the invasion of that, and how that was creating barriers, and yet now that's only just become exacerbated even more so as we look forward to today. I think that connection, I mean, it strikes me that there's the product, if you will, is around, hey, you're cooking food and you're delivering it, and so the child conceives of the beneficiary, the recipient as the beneficiary. But in your model, it's absolutely the child who is the beneficiary here, because they're not only the recipient is enjoying that benefit of connection, but the child is observing that in a really safe environment, often with a parent. I think you still encourage parents to participate.
Definitely.
So it's kind of a joint experience. That shared experience is, well, as I say, I still talk about it with my son.
Yeah, that's
and it becomes,
wonderful.
It's a meaningful connection, right?
We call it our triple impact. So the power of volunteering or our programs is that the kids get the beautiful benefits of, like I just mentioned, all the wonderful benefits of volunteering. The recipients also get the benefit, not just of whether it's the the food, the breakfast packs, the care packs, the pamper packs. We do a lot of different things nowadays, but also the community as a whole, because we're raising, as we say, the next generation of generosity.
And there's a difference. There's a very clear difference between helping the work in the kitchen, you're giving your time to help, and connecting. And there's also a lot of research about the joy of connection, right? How important it is for health and longevity. And you're promoting connection. Is that where the magic sits? Is it that connection part that you think is the piece that most contributes to that next generation of generosity?
Yeah, totally. I think it's something that I think it's innate in kids to want to do good. They want to please their parents. That's when they're really young. And so they want to do good. And I guess what we offer is opportunities for kids to do good, make it easy. One of our lines is making it easy for kids to do good. And when you can provide that in a bit on a silver platter of, look, just turn up and come here and do it, that's fantastic. But anyone can do it. You really, and the main thing is just start small. Small acts of kindness that are really important. We started something in our own house. Every Friday night we have dinner together, and we go through over the week what are your racks, your random acts of kindness. So go around the table and go, what was your rack? And it could be something as simple as, I smiled at, a homeless person, or I opened the door to my mother, which doesn't really happen, but,
I'm sure it does.
Or, it's just a small thing, helping out a neighbour take their rubbish out instead. And it's just something that it becomes part of who they are as a family. And as we talked about before, that whole role modelling is so important. And that's why I guess our signature program, which was our first program, the Cook for Good for the families, has just continued to stay exactly the same, because when you're doing it with your child or your family, and we have beautiful, sometimes intergenerational, families come, it's something that you connect with. It's that shared experience that you do, that you can continue talking about it.
The random act of kindness thing, I'm really glad you raised that. It's something that, at a personal level, during COVID, was something that kept me going a bit of time. I struggled a bit with mental health during the kind of the COVID phase and the isolation. And I actually put something up. I remember on my desk, I just had a piece of paper and just said one random act of kindness a day, just one. And whatever it is, just think about what that can be and make sure and just acknowledge it at the end of the day that you've done it as just a way of saying, hey, I'm engaging, it's okay, you're okay, you've done that. And it becomes, there's a giving, there's a lot that you get out of that process as well. And it's quite affirmative.
During COVID, actually, it was obviously very difficult to run our programs. We couldn't. Yes. So we did some online sessions, and it was really, we had this online bingo kindness session. So it was what kids could do during COVID. Yep. And it was writing a letter to your neighbour, or baking cookies and giving it to, a family or something like that, just to keep that connection going.
So important. And you talked then around the kind of the random act of kindness. You gave one example there of just speaking to someone on the street, maybe someone that's homeless. One of the things that I remember when we were doing the program, the Cook for Good program, and as we're cooking, you're pausing, and someone's typically coming in and telling a story. Maybe it's their personal life story about the situation they've experienced, and it's breaking down some of the stigmas or stereotypes associated with homelessness. Yeah. The one that I remember was that I still practice, see my kids doing, which is great, the come down to that level and just have a chat.
Exactly.
Because they're so often just invisible. They feel invisible on the street. Yeah. And even the act of giving, sometimes the money gets put down, but people don't look. And they just want to be acknowledged, the dignity of just being witnessed. Yeah. And so now, come down, have a quick chat, how you doing? Yeah. Might still give some money and do whatever. But that connection, that dignity, is so much more powerful. There's one takeaway I took from that.
Wow, that's amazing that you
we still do it. We still do it.
Yeah.
It's a practice that we inherited from kids giving back.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And you still do it in that way, the Cook for Good program?
Totally. So we have, our programs, we have what we call is our E philosophy. So E is to educate. Yep. So we're educating families, kids, the corporate groups we do on the community that are helping, and most of the time it's the homeless community. A is the action, so we're very big on action. Kids learn through doing and not listening. So whether it's cooking meals again, or making toys for animals to go to homeless people who have animals. And R is the reflection. So we always talk about how did it make you feel, because that's so important, that they've just experienced something, to put words into what they have done. That reflection makes them realise that they can do this again and again. It doesn't have to be with us. It can just be that I felt good doing that. Yeah. So therefore, when times get tough, it's that resilience that can build up basically a solution of what they can do when they're feeling bad. And so, one of the things, we still go through the same thing, is like a lot of the questions are, what do you do when you see someone homeless? Mm-hmm. And we still say, just remember the humanity. This is a human being. And I don't know, sometimes we show videos or whatever that, we stress the point that homelessness is not a choice. It's a set of circumstances that has left someone be homeless. Yeah. They didn't choose to be there. And just remember that, so that with, that empathy, that compassion, and that they're a human being, and just smiling at them and saying hello is so important. And I remember many years ago being with my daughters, we had just gone to see Cinderella at the State Theatre, and it was a Thursday night, and it was super busy, and right in that intersection of George Street, there was a young homeless man sitting by the lights, and his head was down, and everyone was just walking past him, and my daughter said to me, let's say, hello, because she's sort of been entwined in this for many years. And we just stopped and said, hello, how are you going? And he just looked up, and he would have been in his 20s, and he was the most gorgeous young man you could have, he was just gorgeous. And we chatted to him for a few minutes, and he just said, thank you for stopping. Thank you for saying hello. And
it's huge.
Again, that's like that impact will...
It's compassion.
It's that compassion.
It's humanity.
Yeah, and we sort of always say to people, it's like, remember they're human being. Remember that this choice, it wasn't a choice, that circumstances led for them to be there. And if you keep those two things in mind, just show your empathy and your compassion.
I was amazed. I recall the statistics. You often talked about the statistics of homelessness, and we have our stereotypes. We have the images that we carry in our minds about what a homeless person looks like. But when you look at the actual statistics, it's women, it's mums, it's kids couch surfing. It is so different to what those modern misconceptions might be. And I'm unfortunately, I imagine it's still the case here in New South Wales. And the problem of homelessness is not getting any better anytime soon. No?
Not at all. The fastest growing age group of homelessness is women over the age of 55.
Really?
Yeah. And the other stat, which is really mind-blowing, is that only 7% of people who are homeless are actually on the streets. And we talk a lot about this in our sort of educational part, is we go through this whole thing, particularly with the kids. What's your stereotype of someone who's homeless? And, they'll normally say an old, dirty, scruffy man or this sort of thing. So when you tell them the statistics that only 7% of homeless are living on the streets, where are the other 93%? We have that discussion and open their eyes to that it's the unseen homeless that's existing.
Presumably that's the couch surfers, it's the sleeping in cars, it's the there's a whole
shelters,
So Cook for Good, has been a mainstay, and it continues to be a mainstay. What other programs? So clearly, from the sounds of things, it's evolved into a bunch of other things now. Tell me all about those.
It has. Well, we still do the Grow program, which was I think the first thing that you did, actually. You came doing the washing the dishes.
Yes, I did. I'm okay at that, I reckon.
So we still do that. That's in our 12th year. We work with youth off the streets. And we run that program with them for 8 weeks, where we get the young teens who come in, they cook the meals, and again, they go and deliver the meals to different organisations. And that's an incredible program, because you're seeing kids who are normally receivers of help, of aid, empower them to become givers. So we're still doing that. We run school programs every day, so we're running programs.
Good.
Yeah,
still going.
Yeah. Okay, so we have school groups come into our hub in Paddington, and we go out and do incursions into schools, and we always match those schools with local charities so that the kids can see and also continue that relationship with them. And we do school holiday programs.
Good.
They're our big thing. We now have them in Paddington, we have them in Parramatta, we have them in Manly, and
you put it. Northern Beaches got there.
Northern Beaches got there.
Good.
And hopefully soon the Shire will have some as well. Good. And they're fantastic full day programs, 9:30 to 3:30, where the kids have a lot of fun giving. We got it organised with my youngest son's school. I remember it took a while to convince them to do it.
But once it's up and running and you see it, the impact that it has on those kids and the stories that they bring home to the mums and dads.
And it continues with St. Luke's, right?
That's right. They're still doing it?
Continue. They're fantastic.
That's excellent news.
Brilliant.
Really? Oh, I'm super happy with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was, that took a bit of work.
Yeah.
A bit of effort to convince them, but I'm glad it's embedded now as part of that.
And we also do corporate programs, so that's sort of part of our sustainability, where we have corporates come in and do our programs, and then we have corporates come with their kids, which is the best.
Yes.
That's a lot of fun. And then I guess the other, probably since you were around, we started our Youth Changemakers program. So that's our teen program, which we realised that, you know, our programs are fantastic but once a kid hits those sort of teenage years, they want, you know, they're very, very busy. They want flexibility, their choice, diversity. So we've got an app called our Youth Changemakers app, where we put a whole lot of different volunteering opportunities, not just with kids giving back. Could be anything from serving meals with Plates for Mates or bush care or a whole lot of different things. And they can click on, see what the opportunity is, sign up. It's a fantastic record. They keep a record of their volunteering. We call it their passport, their volunteering passport. And fantastic for if they, you know, want to apply for a job or universities. They've got a whole resume of the different volunteering that they've done.
In today's world, they need it, right? You need to show that roundedness. You know, community mindedness is a really important part of the review process when there's a scarcity of jobs for young kids.
I know. Right? And Duke of Ed, a lot of kids who do Duke of Edinburgh.
Okay, they use it as part of that.
They use it, yeah.
Very good. So the programs are expanding. How do you fund all this work? What are the funding sources that you have?
Yeah, we've worked hard.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I can tell you where we don't get funding. We don't get funding from government.
Yeah, but, which is interesting in itself, right?
Yeah.
That's something that I'd be very keen to see us lobbying for more here. There ought to be more. But then there's a global picture where there seems to be government funding is in kind of recession in general, and not just here in Australia at the moment. But private sources then at the moment.
Well, 50% of our revenue comes from program revenue, which is great. It's you know, it's a good model. We'd love to increase that to to be higher, but at least, you know, we get 50% from that, and the other 50% is the blood, sweat, tears, grants, foundations. We have a major fundraiser every year, our mega volunteer-a-thon, where we have 400 people come in and, you know, raise money, and it's a lot of work putting that on, but we raise some money from that. And and you know, and because we do some corporate programs, we charge them more, so that's a good income. So it's a balance, and you know, it's every year you sort of take a deep breath and hope, what's this year going to be like?
Of course.
And you know, thankfully we're doing okay. You know, we're all right.
It's hard, right? I think the whole philanthropic sector's moved beyond long-term endowments, those types of things. You have to work hard for every dollar every year, it seems to me. All
the time. I mean, you know, constantly, even, you know, putting in for those council grants, and it's a lot of work.
Do you need evidence? Do you need to produce a lot of evidence and research to justify those grants, or how does that work?
Yeah, depending on the grant, yes. A lot of what we do in terms of like the impact and showing the impact, you know, you've got the statistics, which we've always kept, you know, how many kids have volunteered, how many meals, how many hours of volunteering. So that's relatively easy to produce. But after each program, we're doing, you know, surveys, reflections, where we get the feedback. So it's really getting, how do people feel? How does it make them feel? Yeah. And being able to show that, so that you know, we can show that, you know, impact.
Some type of baseline
stories.
Evidence, a story that you can tell. And look, I want to get part of at least the story about the involvement I have with kids giving back, and maybe share that as an example, because I've been carrying with it ever since I knew that we were going to have this interview. So my story is that when I went through a divorce. I think you probably know that.
Yeah.
And I think, like many divorces, are quite painful and to many people and messy. And whilst I was prepared for a lot of things, I take full responsibility for that situation. It's not what we're here to talk about today. But having taken that, the one thing I wasn't prepared for was the loneliness that hit me like a freight train straight afterwards. The first weekend when I don't have my kids, and that hurt. And I was just, I confess, I was selfishly looking for something to distract me from that loneliness. And so the GROW program, okay, great, I can just wash dishes. I can be useful somehow, rather than just living with this horrible feeling of just not having my kids with me and wondering what they're doing. So we did GROW, and then I thought, hey, hang on a second, I just thought it would just be a distraction, but I'm feeling something here that's kind of tapping into this like deep wellspring of emotion going on. I feel pretty good about this. I wonder if this could be a way that I could connect with my kid. Like with Harrison, he'd started, my eldest son, he was doing Duke of Ed refereeing.
There you go.
So we started doing soccer refereeing together, and whatever money we made, we just give back, we just give to charities. But with Edward, my youngest, I brought him along to one of the Cook for Good programs, and suddenly it was, for me at least, a way of connecting with him that was different to the relationships and all the trauma that was going on at the time. Completely different, disconnected spaces, and we're here to help other people. And it was almost like it made it a safe space for us to just be normal with each other. It's quite a difficult thing to talk about. But, it was quite profound.
Yeah. Oh.
And I think you kind of saved me for myself, if I can put it that way. Just creating that space was incredibly valuable. So I just wanted to, I think for parents, there's a lot of value in that program.
Yeah. I feel like giving you a hug. Can you give a hug with the podcast?
We'll have a quick hug. We'll have a hug here for a moment. Thank you.
Now you're going to make me cry.
Yeah, no, I didn't know if I was going to go there, but I wanted to get it out because it's such an important part of what you do as a key beneficiary in that connection for families, not just. And so it's powerful, and all power to you for creating that. Now, lighter, maybe a light phrase. You're dealing though with parents. Well, sorry, actually, first question. I can't be alone in having had that experience. Are there others that you must see that story must be familiar?
Well,
to
you're
you?
setting shivers down my spine because there was a story of a father. Well, actually, the mother wrote to us where her husband was severely depressed, and she had booked her kids into doing a Cook for Good program. And at the last minute, she said, "No, you take them, right, to it." And he did. And then what we heard afterwards, she said, is that he had been planning to take his life. And after sort of doing that with the kids, it changed. And I was like, wow. And you just don't know what anyone's going through at any moment of time.
No.
It's back to that humanity. When you do something for someone else, it's not even a case of, someone's worse off or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's really just, I guess, grounding. Yeah. If nothing else, it's just grounding to see how you can help someone, and that everyone goes through. And that's another thing we say, particularly to the kids, that throughout your life, something's going to go wrong. Yeah. Right? It's how you deal with that.
Yeah. It's not what happens to you, it's how you respond to it.
It's how you respond to it. And to remember that it is going to happen, and how you deal with it. And there's always some way out. Yeah. It's always someone there to help you, whether it's family, friends, a teacher, or an organisation. There's amazing organisations out there. Yeah. And to be able to get yourself a bit outside yourself, to be able to realise that. Yeah. And a lot of what we talk about when we're doing this is what we're doing is getting people to realise it's about we and not just me. Yeah, my specific situation. I like that idea about kind of getting out of yourself, like getting away from yourself a little bit. And I think there's some power in that. I loved the way, I remember clearly that you and your team, you didn't ask about the backstory. People were just there for whatever reasons, and you just accepted them for who they were. And it was quite nice to not be, identified as someone that was going through a divorce or someone that was going through these things. I was just dad with this kid. Yeah. And that safe space again, psychological safety, right? To just inhabit that space for a while and find a reason. And it's like you said, that shared experience that you have. And it's something that, you can talk to your teen about. A lot of the feedback we get, it was really good as an opener to a conversation with their kids, like always driving back, or that evening over the meal talking about how to make them feel. But it's hard to talk to teens. Yes, yes, it is. And so it gives a topic of conversation plus that sort of shared experience. Yeah, and we've talked about it, and I've seen it. I can see the impact in both of them actually in their own different ways about how they've gone on to now. They've got that spirit of wanting to help others.
I think that seed was planted in those moments. It certainly was for me as well. I've gone on to do other things in the social impact space, and I could trace it all back to that work and how that stuff made me feel. I've got to say though, you're dealing with schools, you're dealing with teenagers, you're dealing with parents. I mean, that's silly as a box of frogs. That is just chaos.
You're telling me.
How do you cope with all of those different dimensions?
And who says I cope?
Yeah.
Look, I've got a brilliant team.
Yeah.
So, it's being surrounded by great people really, really help. My dog. Walking the dog in the morning, nothing beats animals, particularly dogs.
Yeah.
But really, and having a sense of humour.
Yeah.
I guess when it boils down to it, it's the why, it's
Yeah.
the purpose.
Yeah.
That's when you have that purpose. And now more than ever, honestly, I mean, if you would have asked Ruth and I 13 years ago why, this is what we would be doing, we would have laughed. But it's really the purpose. It's in today's world with so much out there to be able to offer something to families, to kids, which is really, really needed more than ever.
Yes.
And not just that's on one side, but on the other side, we've never had such demand for our meals. The cost of living is just really, really high, and we're seeing from all our charity partners, one of the things Ruth and I used to say at the beginning would be, wouldn't it be cool if charities were asking us for things rather than, at the beginning we would be door-knocking charities.
Yeah.
And now it's like we get calls every day from charities, do you have any meals? And it's families who might be able to have a roof over their heads, but they won't eat, or they'll give up their meal for their child.
It's the food insecurity thing, isn't it?
The food insecurity is huge.
Yeah. Skipping a meal, 1 meal a day, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's and that has all those knock-on effects in terms of your propensity to learn. If you're a child that's going through that experience, or your productivity as a parent, and your emotion management ability to handle stress.
Yeah,
it's happening.
It's really happening, and so yes, we did start in a way for selfish reasons of we wanting for our own kids to gain that, but there is such a need out there, and the kids really feel that need.
And so, size and scale today, you talk about a team. I guess to meet that demand, you've been growing. And so how many folks do you have now within the organisation?
So we've got 6 permanent staff.
Okay, yeah, that's
and we've got another sort of 10 casual facilitators.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, that works. That really enables you to operate at a degree of scale, though, right? To deliver those programs.
Yeah, it does. And hopefully, our sort of strategy is to grow, particularly the school holiday programs in different areas, because there's a demand for it, and to try and, grow more regionally and expand.
So at the moment, very much still, I mean, we've talked about Sydney, we've landed this very much in a Sydney context. Has there been any thoughts about going interstate?
We'd love to.
Yeah.
I mean, with our Youth Changemakers program, because it's an app that's definitely scalable and something we're looking at doing, because it's, again, it's something to make it easy for teens to do good. So that's something that we're really looking at scaling.
Yes.
In terms of going more national, we need to find partners to be able to do it, because it is quite operational.
Yes.
Need a space to, to do it, and the marketing, bringing kids in and families in. So
it's contextual, isn't it? You need the relationships with the schools. You need to know how things operate. I can see that. So it's almost like, well, here's the IP, here's the model. Yeah. Let's find someone that's willing to do that or replicate that model in Melbourne. And presumably you'd be more than willing to help them to kind of get it set up, but just replicate it that way rather than thinking, hey, trying to do that yourself.
Yeah, definitely.
I can see that. I can see that makes sense.
And it could be, other charity partners, like the Parramatta is. We work, the school holiday programs are at the Salvos. They've got a great space.
Oh, yeah.
And they give us that space for free. So it's, finding that charity partner who's willing to take that on. And I think, part of our advocacy work that we've been doing is also enlightening charities that youth and kids can really help. Because when you look at it, these kids who might start whatever age they start, be it 8, 10, 12, in a few years' time they're going to be adults. They're going to be the ones being their volunteers, their supporters, their donors. So get them while they're young.
Yeah, 100%. You sparked the question in my mind though. Why isn't there then more charities out there that create opportunities for kids. Because you are right. I remember looking, the really one I came across, like, wow, there's an opportunity for kids to get involved. Yeah. Is it regulation or legislation that's preventative? Does it create a barrier?
Well, look, obviously child safety is number one.
Of course.
And it always is. I think, part of it, the resistance is that it's change. It's change, and it's thinking about the future. A lot of charities are definitely, compared to when we first started, people thought we were mad. Like the legalities. People are scared nowadays to do something that could potentially be, an issue. And again, charities are usually under-resourced. So to do something that might either have a bit of a risk or a bit more difficult outside their comfort zone, they won't do it, which is, I guess, why, in a way, we're popular, because that's what our mission is.
Because you're doing it, right?
We're doing it, and we're making it age-appropriate, meaningful, and hands-on volunteering.
Yeah. And so I did I remember doing the age manager thing at Nippers up at Bilgona Bridge when the kids were really small. And you're right, you learn about where it's appropriate to touch a child, making sure you're not there on your own, in an isolated situation on your own with a child, which is all really good. It's there for really good reason. It's really, really important to run those types of training programs, and I guess you have to be very mindful of that. Also, to your point, age appropriate, if you're cooking and you're cutting and you're peeling, and you have to make sure that all those things are appropriate to the age group as well.
We have our Little Helpers program, which is 5 to 7 year olds, and so we have the safety knives, and they have to do it obviously with a carer and all of that. So it definitely has to be that age appropriate.
Yeah, of course. So with all this work that you've done with kids giving back, I mean, the story you told about that gentleman was fascinating. I think this kind of surprised you in this. I don't know, something counterintuitive or something surprising that came out for the work. Countless examples.
I think I'm surprised every day. No, I think from when we first started, it's just amazing the power of kids. Yeah. Like, really, every day when we have, the kids in and, we ask them a question, and some of their answers are just amazing. They know a lot. When we're asking them, what are the reasons for homelessness, right? They will say domestic violence. They will say, abuse, and they'll say it from a young age. Wow. Right? So they're aware. And that's, I think, one of the things. Kids are growing up a lot quicker nowadays, whether it's, I'm sure it's social media. So they're aware of what's going on, and because they're aware of it, we need to tell them and explain things to them. And I'm actually mind blown all the time about, how what the kids do and say.
But maybe we should listen to that a bit more. Maybe they've actually got things to reveal to us as parents, in those conversations.
I think so. I think, having conversations, really is important, and having the time. Yeah. Like, I know I'm an example of it. We're really, really busy, and to stop and have time to speak to your kids is really crucial.
Yeah, you create that. And maybe let's so I want to make sure, I think it's already clear, but about those programs. Cook for Good, if I remember, still half a day.
Yeah,
something like that.
2.5 hours.
2.5 hours, yeah. So you're rocking up, there's a kind of cooking process, the education, and then the delivery piece. So it's a morning, so it's super accessible. But like you say, it's the conversations happening during and after.
Yeah.
You're encouraging kids and, a carer, mum, dad, whatever, right, grandparents, whatever, to get involved. So it's super connective as well. So you've got the Cook for Good program, you've got the Change Makers piece, schools program, so schools can just reach out directly and engage with you, and you run those programs.
Yeah, we run school programs, incursions and excursions. Okay. We also do another program called our Scones and Stories, where we work a lot with elderly facilities. Yeah. So we do a few programs. Again, we either bring the kids to the aged care facility, and we also bring the residents into the schools.
Right.
So, and that's a lot of fun.
So that's super interesting, because that's I'm I've been doing on a course recently up in Singapore, with National University of Singapore, all around healthy longevity.
Yeah.
Actually, a big part of that has been intergenerational awareness.
Totally. Yeah.
So yes, changing perceptions around ageism. Like we're all. Interesting stat. If you're under the age of 40 in Singapore today, you've got greater than 50% chance of living to 100. That's incredible.
Wow.
That's a super aging society. And there's all sorts of things at play there. Not least, we have to change our views about what old is and ageism that exists. But when you start thinking about it, it's more than just ageism. It is the intergenerational awareness. It is learning from each other. So this program you're describing there is a great opportunity for that to happen.
And
right?
it's great because they become pen pals first.
Yeah.
So we'll connect a school group with a aged care facility, and we get profiles, and they'll write to each other, like a couple of letters, and then they'll meet.
Yep.
So they've actually got this relationship. And it's really beautiful. And it's, like some of the letters, just yesterday we had a program, 100 girls from Kambala, and they were writing letters to their pen pals, and they have the profile of them, and it was just beautiful, how they can connect and write letters. And on both ends, I mean, the residents just love it. There is so much, like you mentioned before, there's so much loneliness out there. Yeah. And it's one of the biggest killers.
Yeah,
is loneliness.
It is. So we, again, it's one of the things, the stats that really blew me away. There's a case study, a Harvard case study. They've been doing it for 80 years, trying to understand what's the secret of happiness and healthy, happy lives. And you sleep and health and diet and exercise and all those types of things. Number one, the joy of social connection. Yeah. People who are socially connected live longer, happier lives. Facts.
100%.
If you could put it in a pill, they'd be prescribing it to everyone. And so it is that connection that matters a lot I think for both sides there.
Totally.
The other thing I remember, so we did that with Edward once, and I remember, I think it was an excursion to an aged care facility, and I remember him standing outside and how nervous he was. But the door opened up, and it's also confidence building in a young man.
100%.
He took a big deep breath and went straight in. Yeah. Big handshake out and started talking. He was playing checkers or something with someone within 5 minutes, and they were up and away.
Exactly. Well, that's what we go to the school first, and we give them a session on breaking down the barriers. How to speak to someone with dementia. What do you do if someone says, "Hi, my name's Alice," and then 2 minutes later they're saying, "Hi, my name's Alice," right? So we talk to them about dementia. We talk about communicating. And we say to them, just hold their hand. I mean, having, some of these residents have like no family, no friends, and just holding someone's hand, that physical touch, is just makes such a difference in their lives.
Quiet dignity in that, isn't there?
Yeah, it really is.
You work with the same organisations at the same kind of facilities that you might go to regularly, so you're starting to form a relationship there as well. Yeah,
it's really beautiful. I mean, it's one of my favourites. We did it for many years before COVID. COVID sort of shut that down, and we only really started again this year. It took that long to get back.
Wow, really? Just to kind of rebuild the relationships and get it back up and running again?
Well, being allowed to go into a nursing home, was aged care facility, took a while.
Okay, quick to put the rules in place, and very slow to unwind them for
and some of them just are fantastic. You've got some aged care facilities just love it, and very open doors, bring the kids in. It's a really beautiful connection.
The humanity in everything that we spoke about just comes shining through. Everything is associated with that. I can't imagine you'd have thought 13 years ago
not at all.
It led to this. And for you personally, it feels like it's been a richly rewarding experience as well, in terms of what it's brought to you and to your family and to your life as well. And that of Ruth,
yes,
I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, it's it's interesting because a lot of the work I do now I try to do now is on advocacy. For the benefits of of volunteering with mental health, particularly youth mental health. Okay. And there's a lot of research again out there showing that volunteering at a young age helps build resilience. And there was a study 2 years ago, I think, from the Australian Families Institute, and the research that they found, that I don't know how they measure it, but it was that if you volunteer before the age of 13, you have a 28% chance of more positive mental health.
What? Wow. Okay, so it's that evident.
It's that evident that volunteering at a young age helps you, and that's just an Australian study.
Carrying you through life as well. That's a lifelong kind of impact.
And that's why we, back to the sort of my little shtick about the funding thing is that 3% of funding goes to preventative, for mental health, goes to preventative issues for mental health. It's all going on crisis.
Okay, so it's all about the support. It's all about after the fact, rather than before.
Yeah.
We had an organiser, a fellow called Jetha from Melbourne here yesterday that runs the Let's Talk programme, and is again also preventative, early intervention, equipping people with the skills to be able to talk safely, to feel that they're seen and heard and valued, and I think there's a lot more that needs to be done there. I noticed in the UK government this week there's been some acts of parliament changed around kind of male mental health, and I see that there's some proactive work going into there that's a little bit more preventative focused. Very, very welcome. Yeah. But just to make, you said 3% is preventative. Is that New South Wales or Australia in general?
It's I think Australia in general.
Okay. Wow.
Don't quote me on that, but
that's fine. It's just we'll look into that, and I'll dig that out afterwards. But and so you're doing advocacy work with government at the moment, or trying to raise awareness?
Just trying to raise the awareness. It's sort of it's a slog getting ministers to come and visit us, and part of the Centre for Volunteering, speaking at some of their functions and things like that.
Yeah, very good. Well, if this podcast in any way helps with that advocacy work, then we feel like we've played our part in some small way. Carole, look, thank you so much for your time.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. So great seeing you again.
It's really, really good seeing you as well. I feel like I'm catching up with an old friend again. And I thank you for the work that you do. Please keep it up. And yes, thank you again for being part of the podcast.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me.